Today's video, we're going to talk about Google Ads not running and delivering impressions. 3 actions to fix it every single time. Okay, so this is one of the most common questions people have when they are a new advertiser. Why are my ads showing? Or when I Google my keywords, why don't I see my ads? Or why do I not have any impressions showing in my ad account? And these 3 things are going to fix that, any one of those individual things that I just mentioned, so you don't have the issue that you're dealing with anymore, and you can actually get consistent ad impressions, consistent showing on Google. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to go through what the actions are, but also the 9 basic things as to why this happens in the first place that could, though, be fixed by any one of these 3 individual things that the title of this video promises you that you can do to fix your issue, if you will. So getting into the content here, first of all, before I get into the 3 actions, I want you to understand before we do that why it is that you don't get impressions in the first place, or when that issue comes up, why it's coming up. So should I say before we do this as well, for the issue that I mentioned where you may search for your ads and you don't see your ads show up on Google specifically, to address that one directly, you have to understand that Google's system isn't designed, anymore at least, to show your ad every single time when you type in your keywords. Ultimately, that should be eventually your goal, because you're doing such a good job as an advertiser that Google wants to show your ad every time for your keywords. But the reality is, in a competitive market, there's more than 4 advertisers that want to advertise, and there's only 4 spots at the top of Google. So they have to rotate in and out the ads, and they're going to try to decide should your ad show for a particular person or not based upon your likelihood of turning into a customer itself. So otherwise they'll show somebody else's ad. And when ultimately, because of this, you will never show up 100% of the time in a competitive market. You're the only 1 or 2 in a market that are advertising. You're going to show up a lot more frequently and easily because Google doesn't have the choice of showing somebody else, if you will. But even if you are a brand new advertiser and there's no competition, you may not see your ad show up because Google just decides that ads shouldn't show for this particular keyword. It's very, very common, and it really makes people question what they're doing. So in that case, it is really helpful. A tool called iSearchFrom.com where you can search as an anonymous user from any location in the world that you want. And that'll help you get an idea if you are showing up instead of just searching yourself, because when you search yourself, Google is going to peg you as an individual type of prospect, of which that they may or may not think your ad works for you, if you will. Whereas if you do use that system, it looks like you're a fresh Google user, and then ultimately it'll show up easier for you in a lot of cases. / you should also use a VPN. Use a VPN, and then on top of using the VPN, use incognito tab on your browser, and then you could, generally speaking, also use or be able to see your ad show up from that in that situation. To be fair, when I'm trying to make our clients' ads show up to make sure, because one of the first things you want to do when you have an issue with your ad performance, to where performance significantly drops off, is we search for our clients' ads on Google to make sure they're showing up in the usual places they do, because that'll indicate if they're not, that we went back into learning mode. And I use a VPN and an incognito tab by default to make sure the ads show up. Sometimes I can get it to work with iSearchFrom, but usually I have to use the VPN to get the ad to actually propagate and show up. The longer you advertise, the more consistently you'll show up, and the more often you will show up, which is basically, I guess, the same thing, but that is something you can count on as you go along, and to the point where eventually you got a great ad, great website, great offer, you should show up basically 100% of the time eventually. So with that said, why you are going to have issues in the first place not having your ad show up / not getting any impressions from your ads comes down to this list. So number 1 being your bid is just simply too low, which is the obvious one that most people think that they need to deal with. But I can tell you from firsthand experience, the default in a competitive market is we have to raise our bids really, really high just to get the initial impressions. To the point where, if Google says we have to pay $30 a click in Keyword Planner, we'll bid 130 just to force the system to show our ad, get some initial impressions, get some traction with the algorithm, and then back off the cost per click after that once we've gotten some clicks. Because Google, at the beginning with no clicks on our ads, they don't know our ads are very good. They're going to be apt to not show our ads because of that when they have other ads to show, going back to what I was saying before. So when your bids are too low, you bid higher. If you're using smart bidding and you're not getting any impressions or not anymore, the best way to fix that is to raise your target CPA or lower your target ROAS, right? And if that doesn't work, go back to manual bidding. And if that doesn't work, you keep raising the bids on your manual bids across the board, 50%. If that doesn't work, another 50% until you finally got impressions. More often than not, when somebody doesn't have impressions anymore, when they've already been advertising and it's not a brand new account, we have to go back, raise the CPA limit or lower the target ROAS, or we have to go back to manual bidding to fix the impressions, because the campaign can just break all of a sudden. If we lower the target CPA too fast to get a better cost per lead, and the client does that too fast, it can break the campaign, and it just simply raising it up again a lot of times won't get the impressions back. And then we have to go back to manual bidding because that's what it takes to revive the campaign, to get the impressions back. So that's the deal with that. Number 2 is not enough conversions. So naturally, if you're using smart bidding and you don't have very many conversions, the campaign's going to go down to 0 impression, because it's designed to peter out if you don't have what you say that you want in terms of a cost per lead, cost per conversion, or if you're not getting any conversions at all and you're just using maximize conversions or maximize conversion value bidding strategy with no target CPA, no target ROAS, if you will. There can be times where your campaigns could have been rolling for 2 years. All of a sudden, you have 3 weeks where there was no conversions, either because the tracking was broken or you just got to hit a bad streak of luck. Maybe something happened recently where, like recently the tariff issue hit, and then all of a sudden people are scared because of that and they're not converting like they were. The campaigns are going to start falling off the edge of a cliff because of that lack of conversions. And the best thing to do in that case certainly is to raise your bids again, to say, Google, hey, I'll take worse cost per lead than I had before, just so that we can get some impressions. Or raise your cost per click if you're doing manual bidding, or go back to manual bidding like I mentioned before. Poor ads, of course. If you have ads that are not, like let's say in the bottom 20 percentile in terms of click-through rates in your market, you can easily start to get 0 impressions just from that alone, okay? Google wants to make money and they charge per click. So if nobody's clicking on your ads, they're not making any money. But also, more importantly, they're pissing off their users showing your ad to them. Like literally, you're worse than nothing to them. So if they have 10 ads to pick from, why should they even show yours at all at that point in time if users don't interact with it and it's not helping them? Therefore, the next time they Google something, they're not going to be as likely to click on an ad because the last time they looked at the ads, they weren't useful. So ultimately, that's not, obviously as a quick fix, I'm going to mess with my bids first, but that's something you're going to need to fix. If you're in the bottom 20 percentile or something like that, given that the average click-through rate in most markets is 4%, it varies by market. Like with travel, the average is 10%. Why? Because most people they prefer to click on ads in that market. You have to find out what's usual for your niche market, and then you have to be like double that if you want to make sure you really get Google's favor in terms of making your ad show up, give you a lot of impressions, a high impression share, that is a high percentage of the time that your ad shows up for your keywords accordingly. So for that matter, that's another big one. For landing pages to go along with it is the other thing. If your landing page is in the top 20 percentile in terms of conversion rates, high bounce rate, it has a high bounce rate, that kind of thing, then Google's also going to stop showing your stuff, because again, they don't want users to get a bad experience, because if they do, they might not even go to Google next time. Maybe they'll go to Yandex or something else. iSearchFrom or like DuckDuckGo or some other competing search engine. They want to give the user what they want. It used to be whoever had the most money was king. Their ads would always show first. Now that's still there, but it's only like a third of the algorithm. 2/3 of the algorithm is how good are you helping their users find what they want in terms of ad click-through rate and conversion rate on the landing page. Bad reviews. This is something that very few people talk about. You can have a rash of bad reviews all of a sudden, and that will drive your impressions down to almost nothing or nothing. Literally 2 or 3 bad reviews in a row when you only have 20 good reviews to begin with, or 20 reviews to begin with, can be enough to throw off the impressions. If you get 5, it can be enough to go send it down to 0 impressions, literally. Because the other thing that they look at in terms of seeing who they want to promote in the ad space, when they have the choice to show, multiple advertisers ads, is the click-through rate, the conversion rate, and then the reviews. Because the reviews indicate, obviously, did they actually get a good experience after buying? And that's another part of the 3-part, if you will, algorithm that decides how much you should get shown, how much benefit that you should be given, so you are encouraged to stay around as an advertiser. That is lower cost per click, but more importantly, a higher quality user that's more likely to convert, because they divvy out that best portion of the keyword traffic that's most likely to convert to the person who does those 3 things best, because they want to encourage them to stay around. Yes, that does happen. Suspended GMB profile. I literally seen this the other day again. Client had bad performance. Somebody got their Google business profile shut down, of which you can do that easily by just reporting it a bunch of times. They aren't aware of it right away because they're not watching it. It's to the point now, I've seen this several times. I was, contemplating as a part of our PPC management services, keeping an eye on people's Google business profiles because they're getting whacked down so much. But if that happens, your ad impressions are going to go down. Maybe not to 0, but they're going to go down. And so that's something else to consider. Disapproved products. So if you're doing e-commerce, of course, your product feed, if there's disapproved products in there, that can send you down to 0 impressions, particularly if the one's disapproved we're getting most of the impressions naturally. And then also disapproved ads, of course. So before you panic and do anything, you should also see if your ads are, down, they're disapproved, and that's why you're not getting impressions anymore. So those are the 9 on the list. Now, as far as the 3 action items that you're going to do to get your impressions back up, I kind of touched on what to do already, but to put it into a formal list, I'm going to go over these. Before I do go over those 3 things though, if you haven't subscribed yet, take a minute to do that. You're not going to find better information on how to make money with ads than you're going to find on this channel for free. And that's because I spend 40 hours a week doing ad strategy at our firm to find out what works and what doesn't work. And I share it on the weekends with you guys. And I don't know anybody else who's that dedicated to do that, which you need information from an actual practitioner to have real information. So you should subscribe. I've got a fantastic blog on my site as well at guaranteedppc.com/blog with the step-by-step information on how to make money with ads, the way that we're doing it for clients at our firm to guarantee their results. There's screenshots, there's everything that you would need to follow those strategies there. You should check that out as well. If you have any questions, by the way, about anything I'm covering here or any marketing related question, you can always leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. So in terms of the 3 action items, first is, the bid change, or increasing or changing the bids, if you will, which may, like I mentioned before, may require a bidding strategy change. So again, to reverberate what I was saying before here, essentially what you're doing at the very beginning is, if you're using smart bidding, is you're going to try to change the target CPA or target ROAS, if you have one already, either raising the target CPA or lowering the target ROAS. If that doesn't work, you can do it again. You can raise it some more, you can lower the ROAS target some more. And if that does not get you the results that you want, then you can revert back to manual bidding. And if that doesn't get the results you want, you can raise those manual CPC bids on all your keywords until you get the impressions coming back. And then at that point in time, of course, then you can switch back to smart bidding again, maximize conversions or maximize conversion value bidding strategy to get back where you were, because given, that's the best way to get results. That is using that smart bidding, maximize conversion value bidding strategy. It's just sometimes you have to revert back to manual bidding to get the impressions going again because of the bad streak of performance that you've had due to the economy, weather, whatever, because that stuff all affects your results, or current events going on in the news, a war kicked off, whatever, and you get yourself back on track that way again. Of course, number 2 being here of the 3 action items to fix these issues every time is doing a new campaign. That is because if your ad and landing page isn't competitive, then you're gonna have to do a new one. But what I suggest you do, instead of just switching out the campaign you have, starting up in just a new campaign, unless your impressions literally are at 0, and then I would just update the old campaign, because the old campaign has data that you could still utilize, has a little bit of history. But nevertheless, regardless of which one of those routes you go, you create the best ad, best landing page that you can, you roll that out, and once Google starts getting some traction on it this time, they're gonna give you better treatment, and they're gonna put you and give you more impressions. The amount of impressions you get is directly correlated with the quality of your ad and the quality of your landing page / website. Of which, if you want the best ad and best landing page in your niche market, all you gotta do to get it is just simply reach out and hire us at our firm, because you could do this stuff yourself, of course, but the amount of time and effort it's gonna take to really nail it for sure, in my opinion, unless you're doing just a little bit of business already, it doesn't make any sense to waste the time figuring out how to do that. When you could go to someone like myself who's written 5,000 different ads over the last 20 years and made hundreds of landing pages, and I know exactly what I'm doing, and I can just do it for you, and then you're gonna get the results. Ultimately, I mean, you can, if you don't have the money, you watch the videos, you do it yourself, like a lot of guys do, and I'm really impressed by what you guys do that watch these videos, and I see your landing pages after, and I see how good they are, and they are good. Whereas I could have got it at a 10 out of 10 in terms of quality, you guys get it to an 8.5 out of 10, and it's already good enough to make money already. You're in the top 20%, you're good. But if you're doing 500,000 a year in sales revenue or more, really doesn't make much sense to waste all the time watching every video and every detail of everything I've said to do it, frankly. But it is what it is. It's still your money and your company. But I can do this for you, and not only that, I can guarantee your results. And I can say that because what we do at our firm is we do not even charge fees to our clients until we can get them a certain minimum lift in the profitability on their ads, and nobody else does that. If you're interested in that, you can reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com, and I'll tell you certainly what we can guarantee and give you an 8-quarter projection of your future results to go along with it, and tell you briefly how we would do it. So reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com if you're interested in that. I also have an ad template available for your niche if we worked in your niche before. So one of the things that I started doing after working in hundreds of niches already over a decade running this firm is I realized a lot of guys want to manage their own ads and they want our results. They could just buy our template that works for their market: plumbing, air conditioning services, toner supply, whatever. And then they just use the winning ads and landing pages that work for their market, that work in another city or country that they're in, from where they're in, and then they get the same results our client got, that after paying us hundreds of thousands of dollars to figure out the best way to run ads in that market, or whatever, you know what I'm saying. So if you're interested in a template, you can let me know. We can tell you what results we got in your market or a market you may be interested in starting a business in, which is like, once you got the template, it's like having a business in a box, practically speaking, because everything's figured out for you in terms of marketing, practically speaking. For that matter, also, I've been doing coaching and consulting with individuals who reach out from this channel as well. If you have any questions, we can get on a call. That is questions about what you're doing, planning on doing. If you're wondering why your results are bad, I am excellent at figuring out where the bottlenecks are in your campaign by going from the bottom to the top, going from the ads to the landing page to the website to the pricing strategy to the sales strategy, and figuring out where the bottleneck truly is and what the likelihood of what you're trying to do is if you're planning to do something, whether it's likely to work or not. So if you're interested in that, you can also reach out to me at my firm at guaranteedppc.com. So the number 3 thing on the action item list here is to check for disapprovals and negative action. So with that said, going back to what I was saying here, you're gonna check your Google business profile, you're gonna check your product feed, you're gonna check your ads, you're gonna check your reviews. And if all that stuff checks out, then you're good. You're typically gonna do this one first then as a result, because you can do this in 5 minutes. If that doesn't work, you're gonna typically do this second. If this doesn't work, then you're gonna do number 2 last, which is obviously the hardest, which is why you would wanna do it last. But I've seen a lot of occasions where somebody has a PMAX campaign running. It was going great for a few months, then it peaked, and then it started going down and down and down, and then they aren't getting any impressions anymore. Because this ad system just realized that the ads and website that they were promoting just wasn't their users weren't very pleased by it, and then it just petered out. And then what they would do, start a new campaign, and then that thing would go up for a while and then plateau and then start petering out as well. That's a clear sign you need to step up your game in terms of your execution of your website, your ads / landing pages. And that's all there is to it, if you will, in that situation. And hey, we've all been there once. We aren't starting out as a website expert. When you hire a website development company, they're not experts in making high converting sites. Frankly, the people that are good at doing that, if they were great at it, they would probably start their own website with their skills and start making money for themselves. Now, there are really great firms that can put together websites that do sell well. They're just really expensive, generally speaking, like $100,000 expensive plus. If you want to just go to a firm and say, build me a multi-million-dollar website that will just print money when I send ads at it, you know, you're going to be paying 250 grand for that. If you don't, you pay 20K, you'll get a nice looking website most of the time, but it won't convert. It won't, print cash when ads are sent at it. And because of the way that it looks or how confusing it is, yada, yada, it doesn't have the right content on it. It's not in the right order. It's very technical to making a website, making it convert well. Anyway, with that said, those are the 3 things here. I want to also tell you that if you are wanting to talk with or amongst other people who watch this channel, I've got a free Discord group that I've opened up that has dozens of people already in there. By the time you watch this, I'm sure we're at hundreds already, talking about the ad strategies that I talk about on this channel and talking amongst each other. I'm also in there contributing, answering questions. You can find the link to that Discord group in the video description. There's a free PPC course in there also, just as a thank you for entering the group and joining it. In addition to that, I also am, I'm looking for brand new companies to work with that I actually can invest in. We've run this firm for over a decade, like I said before, and we came to the point a few years ago where we've decided that instead of just working with clients directly, we'll invest in e-commerce and service businesses. And what we'll do, instead of taking a management fee, we'll take a percentage of the growth of the company. In exchange, we'll give them free ad spend at the beginning, free PPC management / ad management services, and so forth to make them successful. And then we'll take a percentage of the increase in sales in that company as a result, of which will typically take between 1 and 10% of the revenue growth. So if you're doing 100,000 a year now and we take you to 5 million, we want, let's say, 4% of that $4.9 million revenue growth in your business. And so we become equity partners in your business in exchange of the, let's say 5-figure cash injection in your business up front to get your ads rolling nice and your company growing, and then being able to finance its own growth in terms of increasing ad spend. We've got several companies we've done this with already. They're all making millions more than they were before, and can give you those names if you reach out to me. But more importantly, if you got a great product or service that you think we'd be interested in actually investing in, it's better than anything else in its category and it just needs the right advertising now, I'm looking forward to speaking with you. So with that said, reach out to me at guaranteeppc.com if you're interested in that. I'm going to wrap everything up with that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. If you want to see another video, click here. It is one of my best ones.